What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Be Named Later Reactions. Today we're going to be reacting to Kratos versus Thor by SethTheProgrammer. This is a hypothetical battle. Kratos, just to give you a brief overview, Kratos is from the PlayStation game God of War. He's a Greek god of war. And then Thor, as we all know, is a, what's the name? I guess we don't all know it. What's them people name up north? The Vikings, right? He's like the Viking, or Norse, I should say, Norse, because not everybody is Vikings up north, but he's like the Norse mythology or Norse god. So yeah, Kratos versus Thor. Who my money on? Kratos, man, all day. If you ever played the games, Kratos killed all the Greek gods. You know, spoilers, if you never played the games, but spoiler alert, he killed everybody, man. Whole Greek pantheon, they all gone. Zeus, gone. Athena, gone. Ares, gone. Poseidon, get him out of here, man. Get him out of here. But anyway, yeah, my money's on Kratos. Thor ain't doing nothing to him. Use any version of Thor. You can use the Marvel version of Thor. It don't matter, man. Thor is losing. But yeah, this is about SethTheProgrammer. So we gonna go ahead and get into it, man.
Money making season and being broke is treason.
God of War Ragnarok.
Subscribe to the channel too.
Sometime in 2022, and in the trailer for the game, we see Kratos is finally confronted by Baldur's older brother, Thor, the God of Thunder. There was a lot of foreshadowing for him in God of War 4, obviously, and we do know more than you'd actually think about him just from that game alone. However, in this video, I wanted to focus on a different Thor for the fun of it, the version from Marvel Comics. Unlike the Kratos vs. Thanos video I've already done, I wanted to explore the actual comic variant of the character and not the MCU version, as we've already established in that video. The MCU is pretty With that, we will be having a brief description of the two, since I've already broken down Kratos.
If it was the Marvel movie version, that's like a tongue twister. He'll get cracked up, bro. Kratos will crack him up, man. The Marvel movie version is way, way weaker than the comic version. Like, way weaker.
With that, we will be having a brief description of the two, since I've already broken down Kratos pretty well twice on my channel, which I recommend, by the way. Then we will mainly be describing how their fight would actually pan out. Also, for everyone asking, yes, I will be doing Kratos vs. Thanos Part 2, featuring comic Thanos.
Part 2,
be after this video, which interested me a bit more and will focus more on the combat abilities of the characters rather than their weird oddities and special abilities, although we will still have some of that in this video. Since we've talked about Kratos so much already, we might as well go over a few things Thor has done first to keep things a bit more exciting. To begin with, Thor in Marvel has many contrasts and similarities to the actual Thor from Norse mythology, similarly to the Thor from God of War. One of these similarities that the Marvel Thor shares with his video game counterpart is that they both battle the Midgard serpent, Jormungandr. A defining difference between the video game and comic version here, though, is that instead of slamming into the Yggdrasil and causing distortions in time, Jormungandr is just implied to be infinitely long, and Thor just beats the out of him. Basically, Thor might have beat up a snake as long as a universe or even longer. One of the funniest feats for Thor is one similar to a feat that Superman had within his comics. Thor is shown to be capable of lifting a book that actually contained infinite pages. Now, obviously, there are many differences between these two feats, such as cosmology, scaling, people arguing if Superman actually did it, and so on. However, this is a very bare minimum gauge of what Thor is capable of doing, as he pretty objectively just performed this action and did it easily as just a child. Another interesting feat that Thor has is when he blatantly endures the force of an attack that scales to the Big Bang itself, which wipes out the Black Galaxy, which is a galaxy-shaped celestial body that actually is as large as a universe when you step into it, further solidifying these universal levels of power.
He tanked the whole, basically a whole galaxy getting created. He just took it. I didn't know he did all that. Well, this is like the old versions, like when Thor first came out. Ain't no way I was gonna ever read this stuff. This is like real old. But man, he tanked the whole galaxy creating Big Bang. That's pretty tough. My money's still on Kratos though.
universe when you step into it, further solidifying these universal levels of power for Thor in the comics. There is a box called the Casket of Winters that, when opened, freezes over all the realms of Asgard, which are considered to be fully formed universes. This includes places like Hell and so on, yet Thor gets blasted by the energy to freeze over numerous universes straight to his face, and all it does is blow him back a bit. As for Kratos, I've mentioned and gone over in great detail in prior videos what he's capable of, but as I said, I'll briefly discuss his most impressive feats right now. He scales to Thor and Jormungandr, who were capable of splintering the Yggdrasil of the God of War universe, which contains infinite cell strands that transcend time and space and stretch throughout all of the realms, which too are universes like the Marvel version. Not only this, but the realms are stated to actually lay atop the Yggdrasil's branches, yet a baby serpent, not even the older one we see in the game, and probably weaker younger Thor, splintered it. As an example, this is what a splintered tree looks like on Google Images.
Okay.
We then have further information through the novelization for the 4th game that a branch of the Yggdrasil stretches out to infinity, which would then equate to an infinite amount of cell strands. Kratos scales.
Wait. I'm trying to visualize a branch of a tree scales out to infinity. You know how many branches is on a tree? That's a lot of branches. And they all stretching out to infinity? That's a big tree. It's a big boy right there.
Through the novelization for the 4th game that a branch of the Yggdrasil stretches out to infinity, which would then equate to an infinite amount of cell strands. Kratos scales to this as Mimir is asked by Atreus who would win between Thor and Kratos, in which Mimir states that he's not sure who would win. This is interesting because he has known Thor for 115 years and knows what he's capable of, including fighting the Midgard.
Your own son don't believe in you.
Mentioned that they split the Yggdrasil, yet Kratos
Come on, man. Kratos got it. Your own son don't believe in you, bro. Kratos got this, man. It's over with. That's all you need to see. Video over with. Kratos won. We ain't even got to watch the rest, but we is going to watch the rest. But we ain't got to. Your own son don't believe in you, man.
They split the Yggdrasil, yet Kratos can potentially win? Mimir also has seen Kratos fight throughout his whole adventure in God of War 4, including seeing him fight Baldur, Magni, and Modi. Mimir also states that Thor could never dream of being as ruthless of a killer as Kratos. But hey, maybe Thor will just 2-tap Kratos and steal Atreus away or something in the next game, who knows. With that, we can clearly see that these two are capable of handling universe-threatening and altering confrontations, and a debate is clearly able to happen between them reasonably. With that, we can now get into who would actually win and why. I think to start off with who would win, we should first elaborate on which versions of the characters we are using specifically and why. For Thor, we are using his base comic version, and for Kratos, we'll be using his God of War 3 version at the end of the game. The reason for this is that God of War 3 and 4 strength-wise is often debated about, and even among the official staff that work on God of War indirectly. Examples being Cory Barlog, creative director of God of War 2 and 4, thinks that God of War 4 is much stronger than he was in his youth during 3, whereas Bruno Velasquez, the lead animation director of every God of War game, period, believes that Zeus would utterly defeat Thor without any difficulty, and thinks a better topic of discussion is Zeus versus Odin. Now, being as Kratos from God of War 3 is obviously stronger than Zeus, whereas we previously established that God of War 4 Kratos is probably slightly weaker, we can determine that God of War 3 Kratos would be stronger according to Bruno. Even then, regardless of who you think is stronger and why, it can at least be said that God of War 3 Kratos is far more useful in these types of cross-verse battles against other fictional verses due to his far wide.
I think the older version of Kratos is more powerful based on experience and wisdom and all that, and him having his powers for so long. I think he's overall more powerful. But I think the God of War 3 Kratos, well, first of all, the old Kratos is more powerful, yes, but he's not significantly more powerful. He's basically I don't even know if he's more powerful. I would say he's more skillful. Yeah, more skillful and more experienced, which you could say is more powerful, but it's not by a lot. And the God of War 3 Kratos, he's slightly less powerful. Don't have as much experience, but he got plenty of experience. Just not as much as the old Kratos, but he got a whole bunch of experience, and he has a whole lot more weapons. The amount of weapons that God of War 3 Kratos got is like Link from Zelda. Link from the Legend of Zelda. He has so many weapons. I think Kratos might got more weapons than Link. Now that I think about it. But Link got a lot. But Kratos got a lot too. I think he might have more than Link, or at least an equal amount. But yeah, he got way more weapons, way more versatile, way more angry. So in a fight, young Kratos definitely gonna win that. But he's not like way more powerful than him.
3 Kratos would be stronger, according to Bruno. Even then, regardless of who you think is stronger and why, it can at least be said that God of War 3 Kratos is far more useful in these types of cross-verse battles against other fictional verses due to his far wider variety of special abilities and equipment than his older variant, which has a more simple setup going for him, which will actually be relevant in this fight, in my opinion. So now we imagine how the fated duel would occur in practice. For starters, Thor is a very brute force kind of guy, similar to how Kratos is within God of War 3. We could probably say that the beginning of the fight would pan out in a similar way to maybe your generic Dragon Ball fight, where they constantly barrage each other with hits over and over. Thor has consistently shown throughout his comics that whenever he is pressed hard enough, he will resort to his special abilities and equipment. Not much is known about Thor's fighting experience, however, other than just flailing his fist around in a brutish force in terms of hand-to-hand combat. So even though he has fought people who are probably extremely intelligent and even skilled at martial arts combat, he himself usually wins these fights without the same finesse that they do. So he doesn't go in throwing down some jujutsu or crazy martial arts most of the time, and even though he has shown some good feats of combat before, he usually doesn't do these types of maneuvers.
Yeah, he's a brawler.
However, we know that
he's just a
Kratos
brawler.
was a renowned general of the Spartan army and was raised in Spartan tradition. This would include advanced training in the form of wrestling alongside hand-to-hand combat and weapon mastery. For example, we see this most consistently throughout the 4th game, where Kratos practically wrestles and grapples Baldur throughout all of their encounters. Another example would be with Zeus in the final game of the trilogy as well. Now that we've established combat experience, we can give a better look into their abilities. One of the most important abilities during this fight would have to be stamina, in which Thor would have the upper hand. He's basically fought people for centuries, whereas Kratos' main stamina feat is surviving the climb up Pandora's temple for 3 days straight without any form of fatigue. It's very possible that he could maintain his stamina
still 3
for a
days.
longer period of time, but sadly we don't have much evidence for this personally. However, one argument you
3
could
days is
use
a
to
long time.
amplify Kratos' stamina in terms of a rational argument would be somewhat of a genetic one. He hails from Zeus respectively and all the gods, and with these gods being able to fight for eons and possibly immeasurable amounts of time due to battling and scaling above beings who have fought before time even existed to measure how long they went at it. If you think Kratos should remotely scale to the gods in terms of these stamina feats, then Kratos could probably do this as well. Due to Thor having a very clear gap in stamina empirically over Kratos, we then have to dive into whether or not a fight between them would even last that long to begin with. But as we described, even if Kratos doesn't have the stamina to fight that long, he does in fact defeat people that can. In the majority of the fights that Kratos finds himself in, it eventually falls down to his special abilities or his relentless aggression towards his enemies that results in him being the victor. Being as I've talked about Kratos for a decent bit, I'll give him a break to go over Thor's basic equipment and special abilities he'll have access to throughout the fight. Thor's main piece of equipment should be obvious, and that is his Mjolnir. Mjolnir is a magical hammer made of a special metal known as Uru that was obtained by Odin when he wrestled with a catastrophic storm known as the god Tempest, which allows Thor to harness and control
He
his
fought a
lightning
cloud?
at will, alongside granting him other abilities as well. As for Kratos, I'd be sitting here for hours trying to explain all of his equipment and the abilities that they provide for him, so I'll only be mentioning the most important pieces, whilst giving a brief summary of what they can do. The first piece of equipment, and probably the most powerful in his arsenal, would be the Blade of Olympus. The Blade of Olympus is basically the strongest weapon of God of War, at least the original trilogy, and empowers Kratos with his godly energy that he lost at the beginning of God of War 2, alongside providing him with some pretty sick stuff, such as being capable of draining his enemies of their godly energy, which Thor has a considerable amount of, alongside creating an AoE attack that banishes his foes to Tartarus. This is not all their equipment, but it is important to start off with the knowledge that they have those things. If they actually fought, the initial reaction...
That's only one tool. He only gave Kratos... He's being real generous to Thor. Because so far, he's only named one weapon. Kratos got at least 50. At least 50. Yeah, because he got like 12 in God of War 3. Yeah, he got like 12 in God of War 3. He got a whole bunch of weapons, bro. And that's only one. So he's being generous right now.
Knowledge that they have those things. If they actually fought, the initial reaction is more than likely a CQB brawl, in which Kratos would have the upper hand. If he does have the upper hand and has the Blade of Olympus, then he would gradually become stronger and stronger, while Thor grows weaker to the point that Thor's immense stamina would no longer matter. Due to Thor losing in a conventional sense, Thor would resort to his ultimate ability, which is called the God Blast. In Thor's own words, the God Blast is Thor fusing his life force with his hammer to create an unsurpassed attack that can destroy opponents even way stronger than himself. In terms of power, the God Blast is capable of surpassing even Odin and a hungry Galactus. Odin scales to Surtur, whose flames were going to consume the Yggdrasil, which encompasses the entire multiverse and holds every dimension, etc. Odin also fought a character named Seth, not to be confused with me, and during their battle, they were ripping apart the fabric of the multiverse in Doctor Strange's words. Due to this, the God Blast would utterly annihilate Kratos upon impact, probably even when heavily nerfed. However, Kratos has a hidden ability that allows him to survive the onslaught of Fear Zeus, who is the conceptual embodiment of fear, and this is referred to as Hope. Hope basically provides him access to returning from death as long as he's
the strongest weapon ever.
Giving himself
Hope
and absolving from his past mistakes, which he will be, being as that's what happened to him at the end of God of War 3. The God Blast, due to its scaling of being able to eradicate Galactus, should in turn be able to erase concepts themselves, probably concepts above concepts, as weird as that sounds. However, the only problem is that you'd have to argue that Thor would have to have prior knowledge on Kratos at the start of the fight to even know to target the concept of hope, which Kratos would regenerate with, which is a bit of a stretch. Due to this, it may be very likely Kratos would revive, and would probably eventually defeat base Thor by wearing him down and stealing his power. One thing you can bring up is that the God Blast also has a draining ability, as described by Galactus when he got hit by it, comparing it as it drains his strength like the sunlight drains the dark. This would mean even if Kratos survives...
Oh, shit. It drains my strength like sunlight drains the dark. Damn. You know how fast sunlight get rid of the dark? That's crazy. That's a crazy bar right there. He was spitting. Hey, he was spitting. Galactus was spitting right there, man. That's a bar.
The sunlight drains the dark. This would mean even if Kratos survived, that perhaps he would not be nerfed, but at the end of God of War 3, when Kratos stabbed himself with the Blade of Olympus, it had no effect on his abilities or his hope abilities, and even possibly granted him even more powers. One thing that potentially gives Kratos another leg up in this argument is that his bare hands can pretty much beat up concepts, let alone his own body, which probably is just blatantly above them. these concepts being fear, which was embodied in Zeus at the end of 3. There is another argument that Thor does have the ability to remove Kratos from the equation by sending him to a realm in which Kratos would not be able to escape from. However, this ability is something that Thor rarely uses in character. However, if he did do it, Kratos would be hard-pressed to counter this. For those that are concerned about speed scaling, both Thor and Kratos have speed feats that allow them to move so fast they travel through time. For example, I'll show a few for Thor on screen, but one of these is his ability to throw his hammer so fast it just travels back in time. And for Kratos, he is capable of moving along the Yggdrasil and inside its borders, which completely transcends time utterly. If you don't think that this Yggdrasil travel feat compares to what Thor did or is somehow inconsistent, then Thor would take the win with speed alone. In a conventional fight, however, Kratos would defeat base Thor. This, like I said, is for base Thor. If we were to say put Cosmic King Thor against Kratos, it would be drastically different. Cosmic King no longer gets most of his power from his god abilities, but from Galactus. So the Blade of Olympus would likely have very, very little effect on him, even if it did strike him. In terms of power, we know that Black Silver Surfer could fight the Griever for
It's a Black Silver Surfer?
straight, and the Griever
Since when?
represents the concept of the end of the multiverse to the end of eternity, which eternity encompasses the superflow, which is the space between universes, which is beyond the concepts of time and space entirely. Black Silver Surfer, for reference, was not confident in fighting
Black, what is this suit? Black Silver, I never heard of him. He, okay, is a black, it's kind of like a symbiote. Like, it kind of like, and then the red on his chest kind of looked like a spider. It looked like a symbiote, like a Venom or a Carnage. Especially with the little red stuff behind him. Kind of look like like a symbiote, bro. Is it a symbiote? Because that dude looked like a spider on his chest. And Spider-Man is in a Marvel universe. Could be a symbiote. Wait, I gotta look closer. Hold on. Man, if you know about the Black Silver Surfer, let me know in the comments. Is that a symbiote? Because it looked like a symbiote, especially from the symbol on his chest and then the way that the black is moving on the page. That gotta be a symbiote, right? It can't really be nothing else. At least that I know of. Because that's the regular Silver Surfer down there. Gotta be. It gotta be a symbiote. It gotta be like a Venom. It don't have to be Venom, but it gotta be like a symbiote like Venom. Oh, man. I want to know what it is, man. If you know about it, let me know in the comments.
entirely. Black Silver Surfer, for reference, was not confident in fighting a being named Null or the Black Winter, both of which Cosmic King Thor could contest, and even if Thor was slightly weaker than those beings, he would at least scale to that tier of strength. In all honesty, this far exceeds the likes of anything God of War has mustered so far. Meaning Kratos would more than likely defeat base Thor from the comics and lose to the Cosmic King. Thank you all for watching. A special thanks to my guy Kratos, very unique name.
He said Kratos will lose. Did I hear that right?
Of anything God of War has mustered so far.
Hold on, man.
Both of which
Cause I ain't hear him. He ain't said what I thought he just said. He said Kratos will win, didn't he?
Thor could contest, and even if Thor was slightly weaker than those beings, he would at least scale to that tier of strength. In all honesty, this far exceeds the likes of anything God of War has mustered so far. Meaning Kratos would more than likely defeat base Thor from the comics and lose.
Okay. Kratos defeat base Thor, which is what I thought. Then what'd he say after that?
Meaning Kratos would more than likely defeat base Thor from the comics and lose to the Cosmic King. Thank you all for watching. A special
Cosmic King. Nobody worry about no Cosmic King. We hear about the god Thor. We don't care about Galactus. Cosmic King. I was right. If y'all like this video, leave a like. If you dislike it, leave a dislike. Who did you think was gonna win in the beginning? Cause I was right. I had my money on Kratos the entire time. When his own son said he was scared of his father losing, come on, man. Your son been with you his whole life. He's scared that you gonna lose? Come on now. So I was right. Even though Cosmic King is something else. All right, yeah, that's Thor, but he's amped up on powers. If we amping up different versions of Thor, you gotta get different versions of Kratos. It's only fair. So that's whatever. Base Thor is getting mollywopped, man. He's getting stumped in the ground, curb stomp with Tim's, with the butters. They put big butters. They putting butters on and they stumping them out, man. On the curb, bro. On 4th Street. Come on now. But yeah, that was Kratos versus Thor by SethTheProgrammer. Let me know what y'all thought about it. And subscribe to the channel, man. We trying to go up on the subscribers. Trying to get to 500. You know what I'm saying? If we already at 500 in the future, hey, man, we trying to get to 1 million. If you watching this in 2025, we trying to get to 1 million, man. Right now, we trying to get to 500. But in the future, we trying to get to 1 million. So let me know what y'all thought and all that. Subscribe to the channel, man. I'm out.